I'm really conscious as we discuss this here today that there are families all over this country who are absolutely crippled with the cost of trying to access third level education, and that there's other children and households are doing without, just so those students can cling on to the third level education that they're in or that they're going to start in September. And I think we really need to be mindful of that in how we approach this. And they are looking at the other, it is not just fees, absolutely it's not just fees, but people who are really hard-working people who are excluded from third level education. I think we need to be very careful of that, and we need to look at the EU and the learning in other member states to see how they can afford to provide third level education. So I think rather than just treat it as, well, it's populist to disagree with fees or to disagree with loans, I think we need a full and thorough, honest conversation around the whole thing. But I want to ask you around the current situation around Ukrainian community, the Ukraine community who have been welcomed to this state, and rightly so, and what we need to do in terms of third level education, and particularly what we need to do in terms of upskilling, so that we know we have a huge number of jobs available. The labour market has never been as good in that sense. But what we need to do, is there a role particularly for the Regional Skills Forum, and what needs to be done there in order to help the Ukrainian community to access the labour market? I want to ask you as well, and maybe Ismay, the digital support that was given to the SMEs and to others during COVID was rightly very welcome in terms of going online and all that. I'm a bit concerned now that some businesses are online, but they're not being given the supports that they need in order to progress that and to adapt that, and for that to evolve, for them to be able to access markets in the way that they need to, because I'm extremely conscious for businesses at the moment really struggling in trying to address energy costs and other high costs, escalating costs in terms of inflation there. And I do just want to ask about the opportunities at the technological universities, particularly in the area of research funding, because we know that really small amount for that heretofore, there's small portion that technological, those who now make up the technological universities are getting, and particularly along the western seaboard. What is required to be able, what resources are required to be able to, so that the technological universities can catch up to be able to access the funding streams and the research opportunities that are there to level the playing field, if you like, for access to research and development opportunities? Thanks. I'll shut up.
Shall I start with that one, maybe? And maybe the two questions that I will address, what we're doing to assist Ukrainians and around the TU. So with respect to displaced researchers from the Ukraine, and that's one group that we're looking to see how we can assist best. I know Peter Brown is from the IRC here, colleagues from the Irish Universities Association, Royal Irish Academy, Health Research Board. We are working collaboratively to answer that question. So we're working with a group called Scholars at Risk, based out of Maynooth. They understand better, how we can best support. So the point is to provide genuine supports that are going to be really useful. And the honest answer is we have a rough number, an idea of how many people might need support and at which levels. We're not entirely clear yet how best to support these individuals, but the broad plan would be there would be some sort of mentor or sponsor within our university system who would then look with to see how they can collaborate with those researchers, bring them into their labs, and then apply to the funding agencies to see if we can provide some supports. But for now, we're working to see what is the best way we can provide some supports.
Yeah, time is of the essence, obviously, here. Yeah. So I'm really conscious of that we can't let it be absorbed into third level institutions where it has to go through a whole ream of, we need a fast tracking.
Yeah, we will.
Sorry, I can't see the screen.
Can I just jump in there just to add that the department are working closely with the IUA on a one-stop shop that will allow the system to connect with displaced researchers, and I think that will be an important first step. And then once that's set up, we can then begin to get a sense of where the needs are and how displaced researchers from Ukraine can be catered for.
And then in the labour market as a whole, I suppose, in terms of the upskilling that's needed, or maybe not upskilling, but cross-skilling to meet the labour market there. Either.
Well, yeah, go, yeah.
I'll also take the technological university question on research. I think it's right that we see what we're dealing with, but it was really encouraging to see young Ukrainian children in Irish schools. I mean, it just shows what's possible. I would suggest that language is probably the most important piece, although, again, during this crisis, I've been struck at the level of proficiency generally by Ukrainians in terms of English language. But I think that's where I would target initially till we see what we're dealing with, really. In terms of the research in the technological universities, I think what there's a successor to Innovation 2020. There's a new research strategy being developed in currently. And I think we should really look back on what was called the PRLTI, the Programme for Research at Third Level. That has been in place since 1998. The fifth cycle finished there a number of years ago. I think we should revisit that. And that actually has supported PhDs and has supported research. Very successful in third level institutions. That model should now be extended to the technological universities. And then I think we should explicitly, in terms of incentives, acknowledge the regional focus of the technological universities. Neil mentioned that we need more applied research, and that small firms don't draw down research, and that's largely true. It's predominantly 70% of research funding goes to foreign direct investment companies, FDI companies. So we need to look at a model that encourages SMEs to engage with the technological universities, because we know that the best way of increasing research funding is to leverage industry investment. Industry investment in research has increased at a much faster rate than state research in higher education. And it accounts for about 70% of total research funding in the state at the moment. So we need to, given the profile of our companies, a lot of which are knowledge intensive, we need to use that to leverage investment into higher education institutions, and specifically the new technological universities.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. Can I get in just briefly? Very briefly on the Deputy's question as well, on how to accelerate the TUs, I think was part of the question, and that's a really pertinent question, something we've been exercising on as well. And one of the programs we introduced is what we call our TU Partnership Program, because the ability to apply for research is as much a cultural thing and a learning thing as it is anything else. And there's a real onus on the TUs now to become much more research intensive. So in our partnership model, we partner the TUs with the universities who have a long-standing sort of experience of doing that. And the idea is that knowledge transfer across to the TUs to help with leapfrogging the process a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much.